May 8, 2025, with us this evening for our invocation is Reverend Jeff remains from the City Mission Church. If you'll stand and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to follow. Reverend remains.
Our Father, we come to you tonight and we seek your wisdom and guidance and direction in all business. Father, knowing that you are the wisdom behind all this, we pray, Father, that you would just give each one an understanding heart, and Father, that we do what you'd have us do, that our city might grow and might be what you'd have it to be. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Brown.
Here.
Cleary.
Here.
Haney.
Here.
Harvey.
Here.
Hawk.
Here.
Klein.
Here.
Perry.
Chris.
Right now. Make a motion to deviate from the agenda and start with ordinances and resolutions first, followed by the remaining agenda, then do I need to say this in the chair?
No. Bob, the second motion. I asked Chris to do that because my daughter is running in the middle school OVC championship at Rock Hill, 3 different events, and she's fast like her dad, so she's going to win. So I got to be there to support her. So
Thanks for father.
We got, hey, well, I was going to take I was going to take off with you. We got rained out. The track team must be tougher than the baseball team.
I remember it.
Roll call, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
We will move on to ordinances first. If the clerk could please give ordinance 2522 first reading by title.
An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $2,750,000 of bonds by the city of Ironton, Ohio for acquiring and constructing improvements to the water system bonds and declaring emergency. First reading.
Bob.
I'd like to mention that was given favorable recommendation in the Finance Committee meeting, and I would like to give second and third reading by title only to ordinance 2522.
Haney.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Brown.
Aye.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Rules have been suspended to give ordinance 2522 second and third reading by title only. If the clerk could please give ordinance 2522 second and third reading by title.
An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $2,750,000 of bonds by the city of Ironton, Ohio for acquiring and constructing improvements to the water system bonds and declaring emergency. Second reading. An ordinance providing for the issuance of not to exceed $2,750,000 of bonds by the city of Ironton, Ohio for acquiring and constructing improvements to the water system bonds and declaring an emergency. Third reading.
Haney.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2522.
Bob.
Second to adopt ordinance 2522.
Roll call.
Brown.
Aye.
Cleary.
Aye.
Haney.
Aye.
Harvey.
Aye.
Hawk.
Aye.
Klein.
Aye.
Ordinance 2522 is adopted. Next, if the clerk could please give ordinance 2523 first reading by title only.
Vacating Cherry Alley and declaring an emergency. First reading.
I think we need to send that to PUC first, correct?
Yes. Yeah.
And I think I'm the chair of that. Maybe am I the chair of that?
I believe so. I'm rep, you're PUC. Or no, Perry may be PUC.
No, it's me. Me, you, Perry.
Okay.
So do you want to do that prior to our next meeting, which is Monday the 19th, remember?
How much do you think you want to need for finance? You need 5-10 minutes? Work around it.
For this, we only need 5-10 minutes.
That's what I'm saying.
5:30. 5:40.
5:45.
5:45 it is. Going once, going twice.
5:45.
Public utilities meeting, I think it's May 19th is our next meeting. May 19th
By charter.
by ordinances
on Monday, May 19th, the week before Memorial Day, to not interfere with Navy Night on Thursday, May 22nd. So we'll call that for 5:45, May 19th.
Council chambers.
Council chambers, ordinance 2523 is referred. Any others? I'm going to hand off the chair to Councilman Cleary. Go Tigers, go Charlie Harvey.
Good Tigers. Good luck.
Okay, I think we've not done the approval of minutes yet, have we? Okay, the approval of minutes is next. It's minutes of the regular council meeting of April 24th and the strategic planning committee of April 24th. If there are no corrections or changes, they'll stand as submitted. Okay, we're down to audience participation. If you'd like to speak to council on any subject, just step up to the podium.
I'm sorry, Marty Conley was our invited guest for this evening.
That's okay.
So, sorry about that.
It's okay. Seriously, don't sit back down. Thank you.
Yeah.
Musical chairs. You are.
State your name, address.
Sure, Amanda Cleary with Judge Waldo from Ironton Municipal Court. My address is 1742 North 2nd Street. Judge?
417 South 4th Street, Ironton.
We're here this evening to give council an update on some things that are happening at municipal court. We recently experienced our audit for our community corrections grant. So the court transitioned from the Justice Incentive Grant, or what some people are familiar with as JRIG grant, in 2024. And this was the first grant cycle. So just some notes that the auditors made. It says that the organization, well, this is just a little history of the court, but our organization handles misdemeanor cases only. We provide probation services, including electronic monitoring, and we do accept both male and females into our program. We accept every risk level from low to high, and we also operate a second chance recovery drug court. In April, the court celebrated its 7th year of a specialized docket, which is the second chance recovery program. And we do refer out for external services that the offender may need treatment for. So those are your substance use disorders and mental health services. We have 3 employees that operate on the grant, myself as the program coordinator, and then our community corrections officers, Leanne Wassel, and our chief probation officer, John Kincaid. The grant staff noted that the court is actively involved in community outreach programs and community service projects, and that the program director is very involved in other community organizations. In the fiscal year 24-25, our target diversion numbers were 185, and in fiscal year 24, the program had 78 admissions and 77 terminations with an 84% successful termination rate. So by complying with all of the standards of this grant, there are 43 different standards that we have to meet. Our audit returned 23 of those as successful, and they noted that some of that was due to the new development of our policy and procedures manuals and just restructuring of the way we run the program. So that is a $353,614 two-year grant that the court operates under. And then we also receive $75,000 annually from the Adams Board, specifically for our specialized docket program. So just wanted to share that with you all.
This is really good news, first of all, and a whole lot of the credit, well, 99% of the credit goes to Amanda Cleary. She came on and has done a phenomenal job in making sure that we comply with all the things that this grant requires, which is a handful of really difficult criteria to meet, and we're real pleased with the compliance rating that we got back. And it puts us in a real good position to continue the grant. We're most likely going to get that grant continued for another 2-year period, almost certainly. And we might even get some incentive type money over and above what we expect, which is around $360,000. And it helps the city's budget, you know, by us maintaining this really good drug court, and had some really good success with it. If it wasn't for this grant money, we'd have to be begging for money from the city, and we don't want to do that if we can help it. So it's been a big benefit to us, and Amanda's efforts have been the Polestar reason that we've been able to get this compliance in order.
I think one of the things too that I would like to bring just a full picture spectrum view of, on Friday we hosted a lunch and learn for all of the service providers in Lawrence County. The criteria for us as a department partnering with outside agencies is that they are CARB certified, and there are other stipulations that these entities have to meet. And ultimately that stipulation in the grant is designed so that the justice involved individual is receiving services that are specialized to their specific needs to in turn reduce recidivism rates. It also helps to eliminate the number of cases that have to go over to county court, which again is funded by our tax dollars. So it's really a full circle kind of picture of what we do at a municipal level, because we deal with only misdemeanors, but the majority of those start out as felonies and then get reduced down to misdemeanor with the stipulation of treatment or mental health services or their term on probation with us. So
it was the first event that I think that's ever been sponsored through the court that brings together all the service providers. When she says service providers, I'm assuming that you all know that we're talking about rehab facilities that are located in our community. And we had a very good turnout. We had 35 different entities there. Well, 35 different people representing the entities that they work for. But it was the first effort to kind of collaborate all of our entities and their efforts in the court system. So we have a better understanding now of what each one of them provide, so that when we have a defendant show up that might have some mental health issues that go along with the drug addiction or something to that effect, then we can send them to a place that specializes in that.
And also ensuring that the grant dollars are staying here local in our county. These individuals that are serviced through the Community Corrections Grant, there is a stipulation before they can be placed into this program that they are a resident of an adjoining county to Lawrence County. So we're servicing the people that are in our community through this funding. And we try our best to make sure that the funding is reinvested back into our community.
Nate?
So are you saying there's 35 entities in the city?
And I'd say in the county maybe, I misspoke. We had 35 people there representing
Different agencies.
a number of different agencies.
Okay.
Might have been 4 or 5 of them from the same one.
And there was a couple from Shawnee, Society County. There were a couple that kind of overlap.
How many do you think operate inside the city?
I don't have that number. I just have what operates in our county because that's who we partner out for services with. But I know that I had 24 organizations on my list that I sent the invite to.
That were throughout the county.
Correct.
Did they give any indication of how many individuals they service that are actually in the city from Ironton?
That live
Yes.
or are from Ironton?
Yes.
We didn't ask
We don't
for
have
that.
anything like that.
We didn't ask for that information. Now, I will say that, one of the misconceptions, I think, is that the individuals that are coming through our Second Chance Recovery Program are coming from outside, and that's not the case. The individuals that are serviced through the Second Chance Recovery docket are individuals from our community. They're from Lawrence County, Ohio.
How many are from Ironton?
Specifically from, we
Yeah.
service the judges
Or
area.
the townships that's in municipal court?
Correct, all of them.
All of them.
All of them just from there?
All of them have a
In our
residence
drug
in
court.
our district.
How long do they maintain, how long are they considered
living here before they maintain residence.
We don't ask for any,
Could it be a month? Could it be 3 years?
I'm not sure I understand.
Before
Before they're declared, they're from those townships that we service, that you service, I'm sorry. You know what I'm trying to say, like, before they enter.
For our drug court programs
Yes,
specifically, they're established residents. Most of them are from Lawrence County or have transplanted within a year. Because it is a year-long program, so we want to make sure that the funding that we're investing in these individuals is going to stay here in the system of creating, because that program helps to establish them with housing, educational programs, job placement, reunification with their families, parenting classes. So that's a holistic approach to ensuring that the individual is set up for success, and when they complete our program, they can return to being a productive member of our community.
I know we talked about this before as far as the reunification with the family part. And I know you're talking about the drug court where you're servicing people that are from here. But I mean, again, I think we'd be open, if there are people that are not from from Ironton originally, being able to help them out if they want to go back home. We established reunification fund, if it's a transportation obstacle or something like that.
Yeah, and I think that I didn't mean to cut you off, but that misconception is that the individuals that are coming down here from treatment, like those treatment facilities can source out to anywhere in the state, right? So the people that are coming through our program that we're servicing is someone that has offended in Lawrence County. And I understand what you're saying. They come down here for this program, maybe they're from Cuyahoga, they're not successful in their treatment program, and the treatment facility kicks them out. So I think that conversation that you're asking to have is something that would be benefited to get all of the providers together and help them to understand the programs that the city has to offer to help people. Yeah, but that's not something that's occurring through our court.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
When we were doing this opioid litigation and all that stuff that came through, we were really trying to get more money for the city, and it really kind of fell through it went more to the states and then divvied up to different districts. So I don't know, you're talking about funding sources. I know we have our own district. I don't know if that might be a resource that you could use for where the opioid litigation, where all those settlements went out, if that's something that you might be interested in pursuing.
It's something that the judge and I just talked about. What Huntington is doing with their opioid settlement funding is building a homeless shelter. And I think that's kind of the disconnect where we have here is we don't have any social service tied to our homeless shelter here. We're fortunate that we have a place for them to stay, but there's no services that are being offered. And that would be that connection piece to say, hey, you're not from here. The city has this program. Let me hook you up with that and send you on your way. Also, the CAO also has an unhoused.
No, I'm sorry. I think the opioid money that was gone in the settlement, I think there is probably 19 different districts in the state. Am I right? It was kind of cut up.
There were 6.
Was it 6?
6.
Anyway, I think there are probably a dozen counties in Southeast Ohio that we're in that you can apply for grants competitively for those type of issues. I'll be happy to try to track that information down, but as the source of that. So, and I'm sorry, one more thing. So let's just say we wanted to pursue delinquent utility bills, code enforcement violations that haven't been paid, zoning, What would that look like as far as how we can take that to your court to be pursued? Because I know income tax kind of does that on an annual basis. How would that look like with these?
It's a complaint that your solicitor would come up with based upon a list of delinquencies that, like I've said many times in front of this body, that all you have to do is take a list of like delinquent water bills over to the solicitor with addresses and phone numbers and things like that for the defendant, quote unquote defendant. And he'll come up with a complaint that simply says this person owes money to the city of Ironton on delinquent water bills in the amount of blank. And it's been outstanding since 2018 or whatever it might be. And that is brought over to the court and filed.
Is there any restrictions as far as time? Example, it has to be more than 120 days. Is there any restrictions as far as dollar amount? It has to exceed X?
No.
There's no restrictions?
None that I know of. Do you, Brady?
No. And we file complaints for the income tax department all the time.
Yeah,
In order to file
we've had
complaints.
extremely good success with that, haven't we?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten, I think the first year that we did it, we obtained $180,000 almost from delinquent taxpayers. And there's even more money on delinquent water bills. Now, the collection of that is somewhat difficult. A lot of those people are transient, they're no longer here. There's any number of reasons that it might be difficult to actually collect the amount of money that you're seeking. But it's sitting there not being attempted, and you're not going to collect a penny in the fashion. And I've been up there seven and a half years now, and there's never been a delinquent water bill filed.
Well, I know, I feel like I feel like we have done something in the form of using the collection service at one point to collect.
That wouldn't
I
have
don't know. I'm just wondering if this would be more effective than selling a portion of it off
No.
as a collection service.
The collection service is more efficient because it's not a criminal action, not paying a water bill, it's a civil action. So we file those civil actions, and as the judge indicated, in order to, you get a judgment, and then you have to collect the judgment. Those people have to have an asset to collect. It's bankruptable. It's not a criminal offense, it's a civil offense.
So even though you're
Unlike the income tax, which is a criminal complaint, or we just filed a zoning violation, which is a criminal complaint.
actually, I feel like maybe we went and changed it so that was criminal. It was a criminal.
No, it wouldn't be a criminal offense to not pay water bill. That's a debt. That's a
I
utility.
think we did change that.
You may have changed it, but it's not criminal.
I thought we did.
The Ohio legislature would have to make it a crime.
Right.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Chris?
Hey, that was $353,000, a lot of money. Appreciate you guys going after that. So that's every 2 years we can go after that. Do you guys need any type of legislation from our body, our city, to maybe maximize any extra would help?
Yeah.
So if there's any way, any information council can get it or anybody else to maybe maximize, that's a boatload of money, but maximize the funds.
We'll keep that in mind. If there comes a situation, we'll certainly address it.
Okay.
But so far, we got this J-Rig grant when we first got here 7 years ago, and it just kind of morphed into this CCA grant that what Amanda's talking about. The criteria to maintain this grant is a whole lot more difficult to meet the requirements than the J-Rig grant was. It was kind of like, here's your money, do the best you can with it. And this is a whole lot different.
Well, if there's any type of legislation, resolution, anything that you would need in order to
Appreciate
go
that.
after that, I'd be happy to sponsor that.
Appreciate that very much. We're doing the best we can. Continuous effort is made to have people pay court costs and fines. Let's say it this way. Our customers, let's call them, don't generally have a bunch of money available to pay their fines and court costs. A whole lot of the people that we service in our court are homeless and are in need of court-appointed attorneys. I mean, probably 85% of the defendants that we have before the court qualify for indigent status under the state guidelines, so therefore they don't make at least minimum wage is what the cutoff is generally. And so that morphs into the fact that if I fine them $250, they generally don't have that. We put them on a payment plan whereby we try to get $40 a month out of our criminal defendants that owe money to the court. That amount of money is really, really high that people owe the court over the years. And we bring them back in on review hearings about every 6 weeks, maybe 2 months. And they just look at me and say, I've tried to get jobs. You know, I don't run a employment service, but almost all of them are saying that they're taking applications all over the place and they just can't get good work. And so I don't have much choice but to put them out for another review hearing and implore them to try to get some money into the court, which we turn that over to the city.
And one of the things that we're doing through building the CCA program is part of their requirements for completing their term of probation is that they visit the One Stop, is that they show that they've tried to seek employment. So there's the push for this community corrections grant is very much a small addition of the social work aspect. So we really are trying to do that, and the judge does a great job of allowing people to work community service to help reduce their debt. So every day that they serve on community service team, that, you know, they're paying their restitution back to the city through work. So it's a plus.
One other thing before we get out of here. Tomorrow we've got like the 7th annual city cleanup. It's pretty much now St. Joe and maybe even St. Lawrence, 7th grade, I think, might be 7th through the 12th. They send pretty much all the kids down to the city building tomorrow at 8:30, and we'll go out and clean up all the flower beds and things like that, and the street sidewalks in the downtown area. And then we'll bring them back into the city building downstairs, and we've got pizza lined up for them and water and chips and things like that. It's been a really nice way for the kids to have community service in their town, and gives them a little idea of what goes on in the city and downtown area and so on and so forth. So it's been a real productive and a real good community involvement situation. Court's glad to sponsor it. Anything else for either myself or Amanda?
I appreciate you coming and telling us all this information.
No problem.
Amanda and you.
We're glad to partner with the city of Ironton. Tickled to death about it.
We're glad to have you as a partner.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good evening.
You too. We have an invited guest, Marty Conley.
Thank you, Council, for letting me be here. I'm Marty Conley, with the Director of the Chamber of Commerce and Tourism. Wanted to come here tonight to let you guys know some news that's coming, good news that's coming on a project that we've been working on. Over the last few years, some of you may have been heard of a grant process that we went through with a power grant through the tourism field with a project called Appalachian Freedom Heritage Tourism Initiative. It's a mouthful, but what we had done coming out of COVID, one of the first meetings I was able to go to with other CVB directors and tourism directors was in Chillicothe. And during that meeting, tourism numbers and data was showed of the Ripley House in Brown County. It showed the number of folks that come and visit, the economic impact that they have, so on and so forth. And I was relatively new at the position, so I was still learning other CVBs. But as I'm hearing this in Brown County, they kept saying John Rankin, and I'm thinking, John Rankin, the Ironton, you know, our museum is where he passed. That's his family. There's relics there. So after the meeting, I introduced myself and we got to talking and kind of put that connection together. It had never really been talked about. So on the way back from Chillicothe, I was spinning my wheels, and I love our local history here in this area, the tri-state area. There's so much here that I'm afraid it's going to get dissolved if we don't treat it correctly. So long story short is we wrote a power grant through the Appalachian Regional Commission. This has been 3 years ago. It came up on my Facebook timeline the other day. It was almost 3 years ago. We worked 9 months. Me and a coworker worked 9 months to put this grant together. A lot of moving parts. We have 18 partners. We did collaborate with the tri-state and a 9-county surrounding area. We were awarded $1.5 million for this grant. The goals of the grant is, one, to preserve the history. We noticed that on the National Park Service Trail, Network of Freedom Trail, Adams County all along the river, maybe north of Gallia, if you look at their map, there was one site marked in our area predominantly, and that's the Burlington Macedonia Church in Burlington that's being preserved right now. We've all talked a little history. We know the Underground Railroad obviously was in this area, but we didn't have that validity, and we wanted to make sure. So what this grant provided, we teamed with Shawnee State University, Marshall University, and Ohio University Southern. They are doing the validity. They are the research team. There is 2 research professors, Dr. Cicero Fain and Dr. Andrew Fight, are leading this team. So what they do is they create a narrative application through the National Park Service. So this isn't like just writing a book report and saying, here you go. This is a narrative that is sent to the National Park Service. They go through it pretty rough as far as making sure that everything's there because it has to be validated. Our goal with this grant was to mark 27 sites in a 3-year period. We've already had 17 approved, and our next application period is July. That'll be the last submission that we have. So we're pretty positive the 100% is going to match up with that. With this grant comes a workforce development part where over the last 2 years at the Chamber, we've been able to offer through our small businesses workforce development trainings, such as social media trainings. We just did a Canva training, things that are going to help those in the small business industry. Also, there's a technological aspect to this as well. We will house a website that will have all 27 sites on this, under this event. But what it'll also do is it'll have content. And what I mean by that is it'll have an interview with a curator or someone from that property, pictures, more content. But what will also happen at all of these sites, there'll be a marker, a site marker that will have the logos on it, 100-word context with photos, and a QR code. So as you can see what's going to happen when we step back, there's going to be 27 sites amongst the 3 states, right? So that's going to be a tour that we're going to be able to do. You can tour a city, you can tour a county, you can tour all 3 states, whichever you choose to do, okay? So with that being said, we have 2, we're going to kick this program off. Actually, it's been almost 3 years, but now I get to start seeing things happen. It's been a lot of behind the scenes work from our research team. So what's going to happen here, June 4th is a date that we have set on Wednesday. The Campbell House has been approved through the National Park Service, where the CAO is now, and Quinn Chapel Church in Ironton has also been approved through the National Park Service. So those are going to be the first 2 sites out of the 27 that we're going to mark. I wanted Lawrence County to be the first to do that. So I'm letting the council know and the mayor know, we talked about this briefly, but we're going to put a dedication ceremony on for that because there will be a permanent marker there. The National Park Service also sends a badge for each tour stop that we can put on each building or site that we go to. So it's a national thing that's coming right here. That's why I'm pretty excited about that. We've already got Scioto County set up, Gallia County, Adams County, but we're starting here. So I may ask some help when we do the dedication, maybe a street closure or something along those lines when we get a little closer to it, because it will be during the day. What we'll do is we'll do both sites on the same day. I think we're going to start about 10:30, and then 30-40 minutes, wait a few minutes, go up to Quinn Chapel and do the ceremony there. Just do it all in the same day as opposed to doing that. And then obviously the preservation of Burlington Macedonia Church is going on right now, but that one will have its own marker as well too. So we'll have 3 national stops on that trail. So a school in California that's studying the Underground Railroad can learn about Southern Ohio and the history that we have here. I think it's pretty impressive to see that. And like I said, it kind of just started with a conversation and just putting some pieces together. So pretty excited about it. I just wanted to share this with you guys. If you have any questions on it, But now's when we start seeing a lot of things happen. It's been behind the scenes for the last few years. Is there any questions on this? No?
Appreciate the work and appreciate the work of you and your team and, making, like you said, national news happen in Ironton. So thank you.
Yeah, we are really pushing media on this, not just our local media here, but nationally as much as we can. So we've already heard from Columbus, we've heard from Lexington, those folks as well too. So that's what we want to do. That's what I want to do. I want people to come here, families to come back here, so and preserve the history. So.
If there's anything that we need to do for you from the council standpoint,
Yes, sir.
be sure to let us know.
Yes, sir. We're planning the dedication ceremonies now. We've not done this. This is all going to be new, but if we do have a group of people there, I would feel a lot safer with maybe closing the street section off or something like that. And I think we'll get a blessing on that with no problem, but that's probably what we may ask. But we're looking forward to it. Everyone, obviously, stay tuned for the invitation because we'd love for you all to be there. And then also this week, Tuesday is National Tourism Day, State Tourism Day. I'll be in Columbus promoting Lawrence County. This is the third year we've been there. We're about 150 destinations. So we're getting there. It's a little bit, but and then obviously Wednesday is Legislative Day. So we'll be back down there with our Lawrence County Legislative Day that we've done for over 30 years. So we're really trying to push up there at Columbus a little bit. So, but anybody would love to go to Legislative Day, let us know. But I appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'll just give that to you. Stop sign this in there. They haven't put back yet. Marion Tessie, 1507 Karen Street. Any word on our mosquito grant? Has anything been done with that?
I'm not sure that, I think the county already gets it, so they're probably next year. I'm going to follow up, but I believe that's something the county already gets because we would have to have their blessing. And so we've been going back and forth, but I'll follow up with that.
Okay, I'll give these to you first. The first picture is taken from my backyard, looking down Karen Street, and how the people down there take care of the weeds on the creek. Most of them are elderly, so like me, they have to pay somebody to weed eat that. The second picture is the end of my property that you can see I can take care of. After my property, you have this, which is, you can't even see the creek because it's so overgrown. It's been that way for years. I can't believe that a city person going down to the little pump station on Orchard doesn't see that overgrown mess. And I'm sure that doesn't help the water flow being so overgrown. I did mention it to a city employee. I'm not going to mention who that was, but nothing's been done. I think that somebody needs to take a look at that and see if that can't get cleaned up. And you can see what I'm talking about, the water and the mosquitoes. We have to live with that. Is there any update on the circle?
Yeah. They're going to knock that one out and shorten the diameter around it's a 22 to a 12, and
Are you talking about the inside or the outside?
Yeah, the entire circle around that pole.
Yeah.
It'll take the width of the road from 24 foot to 29 feet, so it'll expand by 5, and where that's not in the middle, they're moving the curb closer to the pole.
Yeah, AEP came down there and changed that, and I asked him, he said there was nothing that said that you had to have so much land around it, so that's a positive and good thing.
And then they were going to also, I told them to fill it in to grass.
Oh.
Is that your property in the
Yeah, those first
the creek?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The first picture is the back, I'm looking down the creek, down the Karen Street from my backyard. The second picture is.
Where does that come from?
Good question. That comes from the DOT.
It's not a creek, it's a ditch.
Oh, that's a ditch.
Oh, I'm sorry, ditch.
So it comes off 52.
Yeah, see, I thought that it was all grown. I didn't know that there was a open ditch that ran through your backyard too. I didn't know it snaked like that.
It's snaked on my property, and that's what worries me, because when it gets high, it goes. I actually own land on the other side of my house back there. I own on where you saw a creek there. I own that lot, and so the water will overflow into that sometimes. That's why I'm saying there needs to be. The gentleman, and the address is on the back of those pictures, needs to clean his area up and clean that ditch area. He's let people dump trees back there. I'm paying people he has a fence. I've paid people to take his overgrown weeds off of my fence, and I shouldn't have to do that. So that's.
So.
You've
is
got.
that back towards, that's on somebody else's property, that fence is on somebody else's property back towards the train tracks, correct?
Yes, me and him separate by a chain link fence. So you have so.
Now I will say this, towards the railroad, the railroad is very difficult to work with. I don't know where, I'm not gonna act like I know where the line is, where it's railroad property and it's where it's private.
Well, I do, because I actually had it surveyed, so I know exactly where the railroad stops, because my neighbor wanted to buy the piece of property behind their house off of me, so we had it surveyed. So what happens is there's an outfall that's about this big around that comes from the highway, underneath the railroad tracks, travels down, you can't see it in those pictures, the water comes down and goes into the ditch. There's 2 places like that. The DOT does that.
There's a lot more than that.
They probably have an easement.
If you go the whole,
They dug the ditch.
if you
They have
go
an
the whole
easement
valley,
from, on their property or?
Soon. If that's a drainage ditch from the highway,
Yes, it is.
then there's a highway easement there. I mean, I'm not looking.
Well,
up,
I
I'm quite certain.
actually have a call into the DOT. I'm waiting for them to get back to me. But I went down to the, they looked up the dates for me. I went down to the courthouse, and there wasn't showing any right-of-way across our property.
it's railroad that's got that right away.
Could be.
But it doesn't go that. See, I thought the ditch ran parallel with the railroad the entirety of.
Not
But I
the
didn't know
entirety.
there was a snaked.
Oh, yeah.
But the majority of it is.
No, it goes down to the trough. And then from there, you've got a man who has to pump the water out from underneath his house.
Part of it goes
Because there's
one
no
way,
way
and
for
the
it.
other part goes to that trough we're talking about. The other one would go towards like
There's nowhere for it to go that way.
that outlet on Karen and facing Columbia.
Yeah, that trough.
Yeah. Okay. I think you're talking about the one where the pump station is.
No, that's the trough, and you've got another outlet there, and there's nowhere for that water. When you keep going those next 4 houses, the 4th house, the man has to pump the water. And I'll bring the pictures next time. I got pictures and video. You should have seen the water. He filled the street with water coming from underneath his house because that water has nowhere to go. And here's another concern. Is anybody addressing that where that water, because we're getting all that water from DOT, where's it going to go?
That's what the system is designed for, to take on all the water that's been running off. So in addition to what sits there, that would be that water too.
Okay, well, we'll see. But there's also water laying in the trough. It doesn't go out.
That's what I'm concerned about, is wonder, how long have you lived there?
My whole life, pretty much. I was raised
I
there.
mean,
And how long's that been there?
It's always been there.
I mean, there would have to be some, they can't just
But
put
you,
There's either a highway easement or a railway easement that allowed them to put that in there.
The railroad would have been first.
But there's nothing the council.
yeah, the railroad was long time ago.
That's what I'm saying,
Nothing you can do about it.
so what?
Well, what
could
we
the
would
private
love
resident
is
go?
for the city to tile it, so we don't have that water
It's
line.
not city
everywhere.
property, so the city can't tile it. It's either your property with a highway or railway easement, so the city they can't tile it. It would be illegal for them to tile it, because you're improving private property, which they're not allowed to do.
Well, you're pumping, but you've kind of assumed that responsibility when you put the pump in there, didn't you?
What I'm saying is like, we didn't make
you
the
changed the
easement
water
to
flow.
from the highway. Like, I don't want any highway water coming through our systems. Unfortunately, it does. I don't want it coming down private property. I don't even want it coming down through the downfalls from the bridges on 93 and 141. We're responsible for that. I don't understand why, but also, like, I have looked at multiple options about that, and there's nothing we can really do. I've looked at metering that stuff, so at least they give us something. We can't. But like what our solicitor's saying, like at some point, if there's not any easement granted, then they're putting water on you illegally.
That's between you and
That's something that I can't handle it. This body can't handle it. You would
So
have
then
to-
why did they tell me that there wasn't anything down at the courthouse?
Who's they?
I went to the auditor's office,
You have to ask the auditor.
and then they did the reporter. Well, they looked up the old stuff, and they told me that they didn't see.
You really should
anything.
consult your own attorney and have them do what's called a title exam, and that will tell you whether there's.
That's what I was gonna say, because if there's no verification of it at the courthouse, then you probably are in the right, and you could get your own attorney and do whatever you want to with the railroad and the highway,
Well, you can't shut the water off. That's what I'd like
Those
to
houses
do.
were built after the railroad and the highway.
But what I'm
No,
saying is there still should be
Not
an
the
easement
highway.
on the
The
property.
highway was in the
73, I think they said it was.
Okay, yeah, the railroad.
Those
is
houses
where
were
it
built.
is,
My house was built in 59.
Marion, have you tried the recorder's office?
Well, they
For right of ways and.
they
and
did.
easements and stuff? Okay,
they
because
did.
I've had some luck finding some of that stuff at the recorder's office.
Yeah, some guy come in and he was with him. So we're not going to get any tile. Is that basically what you're saying?
We're not legally able to do that from what the solicitor said. Now, what my suggestion, then is
And I do have a call into DOT.
I would do the search through the recorder's office, auditor's office. If they cannot find anything, I would do as a solicitor. So you're getting free legal advice. Contact your own attorney and then start the process, because that's obviously, if there is no easement or any type of recording of an easement being granted, then they're illegally putting water on your
Or
property.
you could fill in the ditch, right?
No,
But you'd still be having
You'd
water
flood us
going through
then.
there.
We flood
that water would
backwards.
have to go somewhere. It actually flooded my property once. The city did.
If I were in your shoes and I could not find any instance of an easement being granted, I would definitely consult my own legal team.
Okay. Do we know how many lots are going to be sold down there next to the lift station, as far as putting houses on it?
Hasn't finished surveyed yet.
Do you have an
Based on,
approximate?
I think 9 to 10,
9 to 10?
based on R1.
Is there going to be a limit on how much they have to spend on the homes?
They haven't worked that out yet, but I imagine so, yeah.
And is the lift station going to be manned 24/7, or is it?
No.
It's not.
Are you about to get wrapped up?
Yeah, I've got one more comment.
Okay.
When they were talking about people not paying their water bills and stuff, maybe if the water bills weren't so high, they'd be able to pay them.
Good comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Aaron Gustin, live at 607 South 6th Street. I was asking for an update on the nuisance property at 522 South 5th Street.
Mayor, you got any think to do on
Other
that?
than, I know that the affidavit was sent, right?
There's been a criminal charge filed in our municipal court against the homeowner.
Can you go into detail what the next steps would be in that?
There's a court date set. They have a right to an attorney. If they can't afford one will be appointed. They have a right to the due process. It's a criminal offense. It carries a penalty of between $100 and $500 a day, every day that there's a violation.
When will that time start? Is it after the court date, or is that already?
It's already started. We notified them, I believe, in March, maybe April.
It was April.
Whenever we sent the certified notification to the homeowner, which I believe late March, early April.
Okay. And then there's a court hearing that will happen. Is that in municipal court?
It's in our municipal court here. It was filed, I want to say 2 to 3 weeks ago, Mark. Does that sound right?
Okay. Does anyone know the date of that court hearing?
I don't off the top of my
That's
head,
okay.
but
Yeah.
I can tell you tomorrow.
Okay, awesome, thank you. And thank you for doing that. We do appreciate it from the community. I understand that there's been, obviously steps that have to go through for that to be done correctly. And so we appreciate you guys being diligent in your efforts to make sure that that comes through. As far as I was recently in Duluth, Minnesota. A great place, you should vacation there. It's beautiful this time of year. There was still snow on the ground. I don't know why people live there, but it's a lot like this area. It's an interesting place, but we have an office there from where I work, and we're in, I think, like 31 different cities throughout the United States. A lot of places very similar to Ironton, Ohio. And I get to travel to those. When I go into the cities, I was in Elizabethtown, Kentucky a couple weeks ago. I go downtown. I want to see what the downtown of that community is like. And then when I come back in town, I like to come downtown Ironton and see how do I compare. Is this similar? Can I acclimate with the folks that are there? And as I come in now, we have the roundabouts in town there at the entrance. Who is maintaining those? Is that the state of Ohio? Does the city maintain those? As far as like the planning, the weeding, those sorts of things. The signage that's knocked down, like those sorts of things. Do we know who's?
So yeah, so that's ODOT on signage, and then the court used to do it. We've done some here recently. They said they didn't have enough community service.
When you say
workers,
maintenance,
so-
as far as.
As far as like if a tree dies there tomorrow, like who takes care of the tree? Is that like Ironton Bloom?
Us.
Okay.
Probably.
All right. Awesome. And then as far as the Walgreens Rite Aid property, who is code enforcement working on that as far as who's going to get the hay off that property, as far as the money goes? I'm just kidding.
Well, unfortunately, due to the weather, there's about half of Ironton's hay filled right now, so my 2 code enforcement people are doing the due diligence and pursuing those properties.
Obviously Walgreens has been through a major shift, and so they've got a lot of these abandoned properties throughout the country right now. Does anyone know of any plans for that? Is that just for sale, or is there something Connie did, or?
There is someone that's.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. No, cool.
Yeah, I think it's been purchased.
All right, then it was. Yeah, I believe SOC is working.
Nice. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, obviously as you come down through town, that's going to be the main way in there. And those were just 2 areas that the town's made so much progress in so many places. Those are 2 areas that have kind of been in transition due to changes there. But also, finally, I'd just like to say thank you for the street paving projects that occurred. They seem to be without drama, which was cool. And then also, my suspension on my vehicle really appreciates what has occurred there. So thanks for the progress on that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Is there anybody else here like to address council?
I just wanted to let you guys know that the city is hosting the annual cleanup tomorrow. It's at 9 a.m. in the city center. I think after everything's done, the court's going to be sponsoring a luncheon for everyone that's involved. So if you're interested, reach out to us. But we'll be here 9 a.m. tomorrow.
Is there going to be dumpsters if people want to take stuff?
That'd probably be probably in June. The cleanup, that kind of, that would be. It will be mulching and getting everything ready for Memorial Day.
That's going to happen tomorrow.
Yes. so many things going on, I can't.
Class
So,
at
here.
work. I don't think it's enough time for a field trip.
So all's good. They did give an update on north end of Ironton. If you hear from people, I'm sure you've heard because you deal with it all the time. But they're looking at paving the rest of that at the end of the month. They wanted to wait till they got everything resolved, which we've had to go back and make some change orders as we dig and find different things. But so we're anticipated end of May, early June, paving done.
Mayor, where she was talking about the cul-de-sac, and I think you said they're gonna take from 22 foot to 12.
The diameter.
Yeah, is that something that was mismanaged?
I think they had to put something around it, but it didn't have to exactly be the perfect circle around the pole. So what they're doing is moving that circle and shrinking the size of it to, you know, accommodate. It'll yeah, we have a contingency fund in the project.
Okay.
So yeah.
It's the same contractor gonna do it?
Yes.
Okay.
Kevin asked, which we were just bouncing ideas off each other one day, and I was talking about just ramping the asphalt or cutting the curb, like height down, or I said, Kevin, whatever you believe is the most cost effective and most common sense solution. I would say everybody would be good with, and like I had the decision. I just told him whatever you think.
Yeah, and what they've come up with was that itself, and it expands the circle, the road there by 5 foot.
Yeah.
So should help.
Good.
Anything you did now?
No, Kingdom Court's coming up Memorial Day. The Navy Night, I don't have the dates for those yet.
Yeah, we do that on the Monday.
Well, I know, but I'd like to get it out this meeting.
It's Thursday before Memorial Day at 7.
22nd. Thursday, 22nd, it's Navy Night down at the riverfront.
There's quite a few more events too. Like I said, we announce at that meeting.
Kingdom Court is happening that Memorial Day weekend.
The Ohio Ethics Commission filing is next May 15th. If you haven't done it, make sure you get that in. They're gonna find you.
And it's criminal, that's not filed with.
Yeah.
All elected officials.
Good
And
call.
it's what,
Thank you.
$10 a day? I think.
Yeah,
That
I'm
pays
sure
a
you
lot
follow.
of money.
I need to set an alarm for that. It is.
That's really it's what worries.
John, do you have anything?
No, sir, thank you for asking.
Okay. Chris? Nate?
A motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, we got, Nate made the motion to adjourn for a second. You beat me to it.
Your chair, you can't.
Well, that's true. Okay, roll call adjournment.
Brown.
Aye.
Cleary.
Aye.
Hany.
Aye.
Harvey. Hopkins.
Aye.
Arnold.
Aye.